Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Shane Whelan. He's VivoPower's Chief Real Estate Officer, also a member of its Global Advisory Council. We're talking about the evolving dynamics affecting data centers. Shane, very good to speak with you. AI versus traditional data centers. What's the difference?
I think the traditional data centers are effectively not fit for purpose when it comes to dealing with AI and the requirements and demands of an AI data center. Like a legacy data center is essentially a giant library, quiet, steady, organized. An AI data center is a high performance engine room, which is loud, hot, and volatile. This leads to sort of three main sort of points of difference. One is density. Traditional data centers, the racks that are included there, they pull 5 to 15 kilowatts of power, whereas AI racks for the large language model, that training, they now exceed 40 to 85 kilowatts per hour. And like for reference, NVIDIA's next chip, which is called Vera Rubin, their computing platform, is anticipated to push rack level power consumption towards 140 kilowatts or higher, make it liquid cooling an absolute requirement. And that brings me to the next point, which is the whole cooling wall. Traditional air cooling, which is effectively giant fans, is what was used or has been used in traditional data centers. Like that's physically incapable of removing the heat generated from modern GPUs. This has forced shifts towards liquid cooling, which is cold plates or actually immersion of the full rack into liquid systems. This requires entirely new plumbing, structural reinforcements that old buildings simply don't have. And then the third point of difference is the traffic patterns. Traditional data centers, they handle north-south traffic, which is effectively users to server and back, whereas AI data centers handle east-west traffic. That's thousands of GPUs talking to each other simultaneously. This requires specialized low-latency networking that legacy centers weren't wired for.
Shane, why is AI driving an explosion in power demand?
That's a really good question. For some reference, as of 2026, data centers are going to consume over 500 terawatts globally. That's about 2% of all electricity. Like this isn't just more power, it's a different kind of demand. Like global data center growth is estimated to be 28.3% annually for the next 5 years. This will result in global power usage increase to 3%. Like that then means you've got structural issues, like the grids are being overwhelmed. Like they're not sufficient to meet the AI DC power demand. And like if you look at major hubs like North Virginia, which is effectively called Data Center Rally, in 2025, at least 25 data center projects were cancelled due to community resistance. This is effectively as a result of rising utility bills, noise pollution from the cooling fans. In Dublin, in Ireland, like 27% of Ireland's total electricity capacity is consumed by data centers. So these are quite significant issues. And then what that means is data companies are trying to figure out solutions. And one of those is that they become their own power companies. So because utilities move on regulatory timeframes, which are years and decades, tech moves on AI timelines, which are months. So therefore hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they're now buying entire nuclear plants, which is called behind the meter deals. They're investing in small modular reactors, SMRs. They're building massive on-site battery storage to bypass the public grid. And that's how they're trying to find a solution to this power demand that they have.
Chips versus infrastructure. What matters more, Shane?
Heretofore, it had been all about chips. And for years, the market was obsessed over NVIDIA's GPU supply. In 2026, that obsession has shifted to infrastructure. And there's an infrastructure bottleneck. You've got two big things that are driving that. One is the component crunch. Like everyone talks, as I said, about GPUs getting faster, but unless you can get your high voltage transformer or your specialized switchgear, you actually can't utilize those chips. And the lead times for those key components are stretching out to 18 months and 24 months in certain instances. Like infrastructure matters more. And the point is that a breakthrough in chip efficiency is useless if you have no place to plug it in. And you're seeing stranded chips where basically they're sitting in warehouses because data centers, the connection to the grid has been pushed back by 2 years. So that whole point about powered land and having access to powered land is the critical metric that is going to be the most important component going forward. Like in 2026, the competitive advantage doesn't belong to the company with the best algorithm. It belongs to the company with the most gigawatts of secured plug-ready power. And that is the key trend. Like for AI, it's moving to remote areas where power is available. They don't need humans as much. They don't need to have the same latency requirements. They care about being able to get the training models to talk to each other with the GPUs and having space. And that's key. That constant cheap electricity is what they're focused on. A good example of this is Google. Google have acquired 1,400 hectares in northern Finland, not far from the Arctic Circle. Why? Because these sites were chosen to access clean energy, hydro, and their suitability for large-scale AI training clusters.
Shane, thank you very much for your insights. Very good speaking with you today.
Thank you very much for having me. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Shane Whelan, VivoPower's Chief Real Estate Officer, also member of its Global Advisory Council.